So Mike Pence proved that he has terrible political instincts with this line of attack that he's using against Joe Biden and the speakers of the DNC. Let's watch.
Let's bring in the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. Good morning to you, Mr. Vice President.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. So what were your takeaways over the last 4 days?
Well, I think the whole of the Democratic National Convention was a very, very negative view of America. And there was no attention paid to two of the most important challenges that our nation faces, either during the convention or during Joe Biden's acceptance speech last night. And that is the violence that's besetting the families in major cities across this country, and the economic and strategic challenge that we face with China. Not a word about that, as far as I could tell, from Joe Biden last night and from any of the speakers. Instead, we heard that negative view, the criticism, the ad hominem attacks against the President of the United States. President Trump announced that the era of economic surrender was over. We stood strong against China, imposed tariffs, and as we rebuild our military, reaffirmed our commitment to freedom of navigation. China's getting the message that America's going to continue to stand strong. And the fact that Joe Biden in his speech last night never mentioned China was truly remarkable. And it's also remarkable, Brian, that the Democrat nominee for President of the United States never mentioned the violence that is claiming lives and destroying property in major cities across this country. And I'm going to tell you, this president, this administration are going to stand with the men and women of law enforcement with programs like Operation Legend, where we've seen the arrests of more than 1,000 criminals in cities across the country already. We're going to bring law and order to our cities. You're going to hear about that next week. But the fact that Joe Biden didn't talk about China, didn't talk about the violence in our streets, tells you all you need to know about the liberal agenda that they're going to try and advance in the American people.
These guys are in serious trouble for the election. They're in serious trouble. In 2016, how many times have I made this argument on air for you guys? In 2016, Trump had very normie lines of attack against Hillary Clinton that were very successful. She's going to outsource your job. She doesn't care about you. She's corrupt. She sent you to war. We should have never had that war. It was like the basics. It was like keeping it simple, hammering over and over. I'm the outsider. She's the insider. She already screwed you 1,000 times. Why would that be different? Roll the dice on me. That was 2016. 2020, he just told you what their line of attack is going to be. Their line of attack is like, there's violence in the streets. We're for law and order. They're not. And isn't China really bad? Why isn't he talking about China? Guys. Right now, here's what matters to Americans. The pandemic, which has killed about 170,000 Americans, sickened 5 million. Everybody's impacted by this. Everybody. So it's the pandemic, which means it's healthcare too. And it's the economy. The real unemployment rate is like 20%. There's been wage cuts across the board. If you're not talking about COVID, if you're not doing something in regards to COVID and healthcare, and if you're not doing something serious and drastic about the economy, you're never going to be able to successfully change the conversation to protests in the streets and China. By the way, here, let me just make a very simple point which really illustrates the problem with this mindset. They're obsessive violence in the streets, the violence. How many deaths have occurred as a result of the protests? And let's even add in the riots that we had. When we had a few days of riots early on in this. How many people are dead? What's the body count? Okay, now, what's the COVID death rate? Imagine 170,000 people died from riots and violence in the streets. Oh, then we're really having a conversation about, oh my God, this is insane. That would be the main issue. But that's not the case. You know? You had a couple Denny's got ruined. Now, okay, I agree. I'm generally not in favor of property violence. You know, I am a deep believer in civil disobedience and nonviolence. I think that's the principled approach in order to try to get what we want and change the country. But I digress from that. Bottom line is, the biggest issues in the country are the economy and the pandemic, and they're just trying to change the conversation in a way that's going to be wildly unsuccessful. Nobody is waking up going, God damn you, China. They're trying to do with China what the Democrats are doing to them with Russia. So what do they do with her? Oh my God, Donald Trump's a Manchurian candidate. He's Vladimir Putin's puppet. He gives him everything he wants. It's so terrible. Soft on Russia. That's what the Democrats say. That's all nonsense. That's all nonsense. So what do the Republicans say? Oh, Joe Biden, puppet of China. Oh my God, China's the worst. Oh my God, do something about China, 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 China. Nobody, no working person in the middle of the country is waking up and going, God damn China. Now, it's not to say they don't have problems. Of course they do. So does Russia. But that's not, I mean, what are you? You're the vice president of the United States of America. Get people UBI. Get people Medicare for all. Tens of millions of people have no health care. And you're talking about China. And by the way, also, really, the other biggest argument you make is, Biden's not in favor of law and order. That dude wrote the crime bill. Not only is he in favor of law and order, he's too much in favor of law and order to the point where he's overly harsh to non-violent criminals. So his problem is that he's too far right-wing on that, not too far left-wing, and they're trying to make it seem like, he's radical left, too far left-wing on this stuff. It's almost like they're trying to lose. See, this is why I was, sounding the alarm in 2016 about, oh my God, if it's Trump versus Hillary, Trump can win, Trump can win, Trump can win. I just saw it unfolding. I'm more confident in Biden than I was in Hillary. Now, does that mean the race is a lock and it's over? No, of course not, because a million things can change. There are too many variables. But I'm more confident in Biden than I am in Hillary, not because of anything Biden is doing, but because of how bad the Pence-Trump strategy is. It is so bad. It's Biden's like a Antifa Marxist puppet, and oh my God, what about China? And oh my God, what about, law and order? I can't believe that they thought this was the right reaction. Guys, I saw the entire DNC. There's a million lines of attack you can use that are substantive. I mean, all they have is virtue signaling, platitudes, and cliches. Like, that's what it is. We're Democrats. We virtue signal, and then we give you some platitudes and give you some cliches. We're super arrogant. We think we're God's gift to this earth. And really, we fundamentally are status quo managers. We're not going to change anything. Like, that's the real criticism of the DNC. They're really out-of-touch elitists. Like, that's the real criticism. They're not going with any of that stuff. And they're not going with corruption because they're corrupt as well. They're also out-of-touch elitists as well. So they go with, law and order in China. Like, that's going to work on nobody. The only people, all you're doing with that, even your own base is yawning, but of course your base is going to stick with you. You're not getting any new voters to come in your direction by using arguments like that. So anyway, listen, as bad as the DNC was, as abysmal and pathetic and embarrassing, like, if this is the line of attack against it, then yeah, Biden's going to get a DNC bump. He's going to get a convention bump, for sure. Because this is the best they can muster up in response to it. It's like we're watching, two groups of idiots trying to lose. That's really the sense I get.